$823,000. That is the figure a popular investment video promises you can reach by investing $25 a week for 30 years through a dividend reinvestment plan. The math uses a projected portfolio yield of 2.5%, a dividend growth rate of 15%, and annual share appreciation of nearly 11%. Technically correct, genuinely possible under those assumptions. Now let me tell you what that number becomes in practice for most of the people who watch it, feel inspired by it, open a brokerage account, and start contributing $25 a week. Not because they lack discipline, but because the projection shows the best version of the math and leaves out four forces that operate silently against every investor who does not know they exist. The real number for the investor who follows this strategy faithfully but misses these four forces is closer to $180,000. The gap, $643,000, is not bad luck. It is predictable, documented, and entirely avoidable for the investor who understands it before they start. Meet Linda. She is 44 years old. She teaches 5th grade at a public school in Atlanta, Georgia. 18 years in the classroom. She earns approximately $58,000 a year and saves carefully. Last Tuesday, she watched the drip video twice, opened a brokerage account, and is 24 hours from automating her first $25 weekly contribution to the 5-stock portfolio the video recommended. Before Linda makes that first transfer, she needs to understand 4 things the video did not tell her, because the difference between knowing them and not knowing them is the entire difference between $800,000 and $180,000. Same 30 years, same discipline, same $25 a week. If this is a conversation Linda needs to hear before she clicks confirm, subscribe, and turn on the bell, I will show you all 4 forces and what Linda should do instead right now. The first force is the hidden cost of individual stock selection within a drip strategy. The video recommended 5 individual stocks. Individual stock drips create small, fractional purchases every time a dividend is paid, generating transaction costs, sometimes explicit, sometimes embedded in bid-ask spreads, that accumulate invisibly across 30 years. But the larger problem is not the transaction cost. It is what happens when one of those 5 stocks becomes impaired. The video included Starbucks as one of its drip selections, projecting 15+% annual dividend growth. Here is what Starbucks actually did in the period following videos like this one. In 2024, the company suspended its financial outlook and saw its stock fall more than 30% in a single year, while its dividend growth prospects became genuinely uncertain. An investor with 20% of their drippy portfolio in Starbucks at that point lost not just the price decline, they lost the compounding that position would have generated for the remaining years of their plan. The projection assumes every stock performs at its historical average for 30 consecutive years. It does not model what happens when one stock in 5 cuts or freezes its dividend in year 12. Linda would be far better served by a single low-cost dividend growth ETF. The Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF, ticker VIG, or the iShares Core Dividend Growth ETF, ticker DGRO, both holding over 300 quality dividend-growing companies with expense ratios under 15 basis points and 30-year track records that match their projections far more reliably than any 5-stock selection can. The second force is the one I consider most expensive in dollar terms, and the one most investors never identify as a financial event at all. I call it the compounding interruption. The math of compounding is non-linear. Growth in year 25 is dramatically larger than growth in year 5, because the base is dramatically larger. This means the cost of stopping is also non-linear and concentrated in exactly the wrong direction. Every dollar not contributed in year 8 is not just $1 missing from year 30. It is $1 times approximately $8 of compound growth at 10% annually for 22 years. Research on retail brokerage behavior consistently shows that the median investor who starts a systematic contribution plan interrupts it within 3 to 4 years. The most common trigger is an unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a job transition. The investor pauses with every intention of restarting. In roughly 40% of cases, the contribution is never fully restored. Linda teaches in Atlanta. Her income is stable, but she is not immune to unexpected expenses. The DRIP projection assumes 30 years of uninterrupted contributions with no pauses. An honest projection models a 2 to 3 year interruption in year 6 and shows a reduction in terminal value of 20 to 30%, even when contributions are eventually restored. The protection against this is not willpower. It is structure. 5 to 6 months of essential expenses, approximately $10,000 for Linda, held in a high-yield savings account at 4 to 5%, completely separate from the investment account before any systematic investing begins. The emergency reserve is not a conservative suggestion. It is the mechanism that allows compounding to run uninterrupted, which is the only way the 30-year projection reaches its terminal value. The third force is one that the video mentions in numbers and then quietly ignores in practice: inflation, and what it does to the $5,000 per month headline that drives the entire projection. $5,000 nominal dollars received in 30 years at 3% annual inflation buys approximately $2,060 of what $5,000 buys today. Linda's projected retirement income is not $5,000 a month in real purchasing power. It is closer to $2,000. If Linda's actual goal is to replace a meaningful portion of her current income, the nominal target must be dramatically higher, closer to $11,000 a month in 30 years, which requires a contribution rate meaningfully above $25 a week. The honest version of the projection tells Linda not just what her portfolio will be worth in nominal terms. It tells her what that number will actually buy and how much she genuinely needs to contribute to reach her real income goal in real purchasing power. $25 a week is an excellent starting point. It is not sufficient for the income the headline promises. And knowing that before year one is the difference between a plan that works and a plan that disappoints. The fourth force is the most invisible, and I want you to stay through it because it has a clean solution that dramatically changes the outcome. Subscribe now if you have not already. What I am about to show you about taxes and the DRIP mechanism is something most investors using this strategy have never had explained clearly. Every time a dividend is paid and automatically reinvested in additional shares, the investor has received a taxable dividend, even though no cash ever entered their checking account. The reinvestment does not defer the tax. Linda owes income tax on those dividends in the year they are received, paid from her other income. Over 30 years of automatic reinvestment, this creates a recurring annual tax obligation on income she never held in spendable form, quietly reducing the effective growth rate of her portfolio by 2 to 3 percentage points per year. 2 to 3 percentage points of annual drag over 30 years of compounding is not a minor adjustment. At 10% without tax drag, Linda's portfolio reaches its projection. At 7 or 8% with tax drag, the terminal value falls dramatically short. The $600,000 gap between the projected outcome and the real one is largely explained by this single force, compounded across 3 decades. The solution is completely available to Linda right now, and it costs nothing to implement. Execute the DRIP strategy inside a Roth IRA. Contributions are made with after-tax dollars. All growth is tax-free. All dividends reinvested inside the Roth generate zero current tax liability. Every dollar of every dividend works at full compounding power. No annual drag, no tax bill in April for income she never spent. Linda's $1,300 annual contribution is well within the Roth IRA's $7,000 annual limit for 2026. Every dollar of growth inside that account across 30 years belongs entirely to Linda, not partially to the IRS. Now let me give Linda the honest plan that makes the math actually work. First, build the emergency foundation before any investment dollar moves. $10,000 in a high-yield savings account. Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ali or SoFi, all currently paying 4 to 5% with full FDIC protection and no withdrawal restrictions. This is not the investment. It is the protection that makes the investment possible to sustain. Second, open a Roth IRA at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Charles Schwab. Zero commissions, no minimums. Inside the Roth, build around VIG or DGRO rather than individual stocks. Set the contribution to automate on payday and do not touch it. Third, set the contribution rate honestly. $25 a week produces $1,300 annually. That generates real, meaningful compounding, but toward a realistic real terminal income of approximately 2,000 to 2,500 real purchasing power dollars per month in 30 years, not 5,000. If Linda wants to reach a higher real income target, the honest answer is to increase the weekly contribution as her income grows, even modestly, from $25 to $50 a week, which compresses the timeline and dramatically increases the terminal real income. Fourth, make one decision and honor it. Never withdraw from the investment account. Never permanently reduce the contribution. Let Mr. Market's daily moods be irrelevant. The investors who stayed fully invested through March 2020, when the market fell 34% in a single month and kept contributing, saw their portfolios reach new highs within 12 months. The investors who paused during the panic locked in losses and missed the recovery. Linda's required skill is patience. The emergency reserve is what makes patience financially sustainable rather than emotionally theoretical. Let me come back to Linda one last time. In the first version of her future, Linda starts $25 a week into 5 individual stocks in a taxable brokerage account with no emergency reserve. Year 3, a holding cuts its dividend. Year 5, an unexpected expense pauses her contributions for 4 months. Year 12, she realizes she has owed taxes every year on dividends she never held in cash. By year 30, her portfolio is closer to $180,000 than $800,000. Not because she was undisciplined, but because 4 forces the projection never named quietly dismantled the outcome it promised. In the second version, Linda builds $10,000 in emergency savings first. She opens a Roth IRA and directs her contribution to a single dividend growth ETF she will never need to monitor or replace. She sets the automation and keeps it running. At 30 years, her portfolio, entirely tax-free, generates growing income she cannot outlive and a capital base that has appreciated alongside the underlying businesses she partially owns. It is not $800,000. It is $500,000 to $600,000 in tax-free real wealth. And that number, unlike the projection, reflects the full picture. The discipline to invest small amounts consistently is genuinely one of the most powerful financial habits available to anyone at any income level. I believe that completely. What I want Linda to understand, what I want you to understand, is that the discipline only produces the outcome the projection promises when it runs inside the right structure, without the 4 forces the projection never named. Know those 4 forces before your first dollar moves, and the math will work exactly the way it was drawn. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. The next video builds the step-by-step foundation: emergency reserve, Roth IRA structure, instrument selection, in the specific order that makes compounding run without interruption. Subscribe so you do not miss it. This content is produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence for educational purposes only. Nothing here constitutes personalized financial advice. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.